Welcome to the CERAWeek podcast, where the world's energy leaders and innovators share insights on the future of energy, technology, and climate. I am Atul Arya, Chief Energy Strategist at S&P Global. In each episode, we dive into the critical issues and bold ideas shaping our energy future. So let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to CERAWeek podcast. I'm Atul Arya, Chief Energy Strategist at S&P Global. And today we have a very special episode because we're going to go to Latin America, and joining us is José Fonrouge, Global Environmental Director for Ternium. José, welcome to CERAWeek podcast.
Thank you, Atul. Very pleased to be here with you.
So just a little bit of a background. You are the Global Sustainability Senior Director at Ternium, leading the decarbonization strategy. You're president of the Environmental Committee of World Steel and Aero, Global and Latin America Steel Associations, and you're an environmental engineer holding a postgraduate degree in environmental technology and management. So you are the right person to tell our audience about steel and about decarbonizing of steel. So let's start with a brief overview of Ternium. What do you do, your areas of business, major markets?
Sure, Atul. Thank you for the introduction. Yes, proud to be an employee of this company. It's been like 24 years now, always on the environmental arena or challenges. Back to your question, Ternium, it's a Latin American leading producers of flat and long steel products that goes from the iron ore and to sophisticated finalized products. We basically operate in Mexico, Argentina, United States. In Mexico, it's where we have our major market. We operate the three alternatives. This is the way of producing steel. In the first place, blast furnace based on coal. Second option available worldwide, it's natural gas, DRI. This is direct reduction iron for steel making. And in combination or standalone, the electric arc furnace, which uses 100% ferrous scrap as a raw material. They have different footprints in terms of CO2 per ton of crude steel produced. The three ways we have and operate in Ternium, it's more or less the three ways the worldwide has as technology available routes or production ways to produce steel. This is the blast furnace based on coal, which has 70% of the supply of steel worldwide. We operate those blast furnaces in Argentina and Brazil. We also have natural gas, which is a lower carbon emission technology based for steels for automotive industry, also in Mexico. And last but not least, 100% electric arc furnace fed with ferrous scrap, which is the lowest of steel, emitting the lowest rate possible for crude steel production.
Most of the steel produced in the world is all blast furnace. Is that correct?
Sure. Let me start by saying that the steel industry market, it's the most dynamic industrial market worldwide. Today, 2 billion tons per year it's been produced. 50% it's been produced in volume in China, where the 90% of that production is based in blast furnace, based in coal as an energy matrix or source. Worldwide speaking, that figures goes to a 70%. 70% of crude steel produced worldwide comes from the same energy matrix. And as a sector, as a whole, it contributes to a 9% of GHG emissions. And if you consider this impact and the difficulties or the barriers that the steel sector faces, that's why it's been considered as a hard-to-abate industry. We have a lot of challenge to switch the energy matrix to a low-carbon matrix such as natural gas, which is available, as we know, in certain regions and not everywhere. And of course, electricity, it's a scarce resource. The infrastructure is still not there. So the pace in which technology will move forward to a lower carbon emission, it's conditioned to this local context where the steel is produced. Back to the footprint, these three ways of producing steel has the highest one, 2.3 tons of CO2 based on blast furnace. Then we have a step change in natural gas base. The average of the footprint worldwide speaking, 2.3 is the average contribution of a blast furnace, and then a 1.5 in a natural based direct reduction, and the lowest step it's 0.7 for a 100% scrap based EAF way of producing steel. Of course, let me round up the idea by saying that there isn't good or bad ways of producing steel. There are the three ways needed for a lower carbon economy in the future. It would be dependent on the local conditions and saving the barriers that now stops or slow down the pace for decarbonization.
So now, how big is your company? How many employees and how much you produce?
We are around 35,000 employees. We produce or we shipped, best meeting, 15 million tons of steel per year. And our net sales, it's 70 billion US dollars.
And you're part of the Techint. Can you say a little bit about Techint Group?
Sure. We're part of this Techint group of companies that has over 100,000 employees that on top of working on the steel business with our cousins that are another company that produces another type of steel, which is based basically oil and gas products, mainly seamless pipes, but also engineering, construction, oil and gas, and technology and health sector embedded in this Techint group of companies.
And of course, steel is a very basic, important building block of the modern economy. So let's talk a little bit about the steel market. What's unique about this market and the emission footprint of the steel making?
Sure. Basically, it's mentioned global crude steel production nowadays, it's around 2 billion tons per year. It's basically dominated more than a 50% of that produced in China. 70% it's based on blast furnace route. 1/4 of it, of this volume, it's been traded. That's why it's extremely exposed to international market. And nowadays, in these tariff wars and CBAMs popping up, it's particularly of interest. In volume, as a sector, it contributes with a 9% of GHG emissions. That's why we are considered hard to abate, not only because of the volume, but also because the difficulties we are having or facing to switch from coal-based energy source to a lower carbon footprint matrix like natural gas or even electricity.
What has been happening in terms of the steel making technologies? How is it changing? How are you looking at the reducing emissions and also the energy intensity of steel making?
Unfortunately, in the last 20 to 15 years, we have not seen much improvement in terms of the performance or the rates of CO2 emitted per ton of crude steel production. Yes, we have been improving our competitiveness. We have improving in efficiency due to trends in prices, but we have not seen, and we're not going to see much of an improvement in the near future because these hard to abate barriers that we need to solve as an industry. Of course, as I mentioned, energy efficiency, it's a must, and we did our homework. And as I always say inside my company as a mantra, the best and cheapest and cleanest low carbon energy is one that we not need. That's why we embrace this mantra in the Techint group of companies. But yes, there have some developments, very niche cases like the one we already mastered in Mexico operations by implementing certain capacities for selective CO2 from our capturing CO2 selectively from our processes and delivering this CO2 as a product, as a co-product to beverage industry, as a soda industry to replace fossil fuel-based CO2. This is one unique case we are proud to share because we already have these developments, of course, with hand by hand with our technology branch called Tenova that delivers this kind of technology to third parties as well.
So when I'm having a Mexican soda, I might be getting CO2 is coming from your plant. Is that correct?
It's that Correct. Yes, you might be drinking some CO2 on your soda or on your beer if you are to visit Monterrey.
Oh, okay. I'll keep that in mind and I'll think of you when we do that. So let's talk about the other big thing I hear, which is all about recycling. Let's recycle more. So, how much steel is recycled and what is the impact? And can you substitute things? Give us a picture of that.
Very interesting question, Atul. Yes, we produce crude steel using 1/3 of ferrous scrap as a feedstock, as a raw material, displacing natural gas or coal and, of course, iron ore. This is a lot, and we consider the champion of recycling if we consider that we recycle in volume the sum of other materials such as aluminum, glass, or paper all together. I mean, this is a lot of volume. It's 700 million tons per year it's being recycled. This is 1/3 of the production. This is because the inherent attribute of being magnetism, you can selectively separate from the post-consumer products all the steel and prevent that to go in a landfill. So we embrace and we strive to get all the steel, post-consumer steel out from the post-consumer streams in order to save money, to save raw materials, to save GHG emissions. A very interesting figure we published through the World Steel is that 1.5 ton of CO2 per ton of crude steel produced, it's been saved when you recycle post-consumer scrap.
What about other materials, substitution opportunities?
I think, Atul, that there aren't any alternative to steel that has a better footprint, not only in terms of GHG emissions, but also on other environmental aspects. If you take into consideration carbon fiber, aluminum, or even plastics, composite plastics, they all have a higher carbon footprint per final application. No? So we think that it's because this property of infinite recyclability, of course, of the steel, that we are considered being the champion of circular economy as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really good and important point to emphasize into those because, for example, we know, and I'm sure you see this in the places we operate, that plastic recycling is not that easy, isn't it? I mean, steel has a great advantage that you know how it looks like or it feels like, you can recycle it, but much easier, right?
Absolutely. There isn't any downgrading when you recycle steel. That's what happens in plastic and other recyclable materials.
And also you have to separate, you require energy to clean it, whereas steel, you can just use it as it is, more or less, isn't it, as a scrap?
Yeah, on that, I forgot to mention the unique property, an inherent magnetism property that saves money and time from selective these ferrous scrap out from the post-consumer streams. So it's really a good business case for recycling to recover and to save raw materials when we take post-consumer steel out from landfills.
Very good point. And as children, we all remember having our little magnets to go and collect things, right? So that we still use that technology here. Let's talk a little bit about green steel. I mean, I hear there's green steel coming, but it's more expensive. So what is the cost premium and who is actually buying this green steel?
Let me start from an opinion that we embrace at World Steel, and I'm happy to mention that I chair the ECO meeting. This is the environmental committee since 2021, since there hasn't been any common understanding or standard or definition agreed upon the members, we have not embraced the green steel labeling, but low carbon steel emissions. Some of you might have a different opinion, but from a turning understanding or point of view, we are not keen on using this labeling attribute. We just go through a genuine strategy and trying to deliver a low carbon steel, but not labeling with any specific standard for the time being. Because some of the marketing strategies that some of the members are delivering to the market are based on mass allocation, virtual allocation, and mass balancing. And for now, we see more risks than opportunities to embrace specific standards until there is a global understanding on the definition and methodologies.
But you do have some targets to reduce your emissions, correct?
Absolutely. We published in our sustainability report reduction till 2030, considering scope 1, 2, and 3 of a 15% reduction on specific emissions. This is basically based on low carbon technology. We are delivering, hopefully by the end of this year in Pesquería, and renewables as an alternative to a market-based energy footprint.
Just want to go back to your comment about green versus low carbon emission. It's similar, isn't it, to kind of people calling green hydrogen and then moving away because there is no clear definition. When you say low emission, you can actually say how much emission per ton of steel, right? So it's a more kind of clear quantitative measure.
Right. That's a good analogy. Yes, in hydrogen production, there is more common ground in considering green when you do some electrolyzing water using 100% renewables. That, in essence, won't happen in steel industry in the near future, not even in the midterm scenario. That's why we advocate for a more conservative narrative other than using a green label over steels.
I think very important. So where are the sort of challenges and barriers to speeding up the decarbonization of steel manufacturing?
On that, and related to your previous questions, the willingness to pay, it's a signal that we yet don't see in the market. And we expect that to happen, of course. We will celebrate that. But as I said, in Latin Americans market, willingness to pay is not there. And I would say that nowadays, within these trade wars, the competitiveness, it's the name of the game. It's the enabler. I mean, and on that, carrot strategies like incentives, other than stick strategies like cap and trade or CBAM, are the more desirable strategies or policies out there that accelerate the pace in which the steelmaking industry is decarbonizing our footprints. I mean, predictability, as any other business, it's key. And we strongly believe that if the proper legal framework, it's out there, if you manage to make a low carbon industry more competitive than standard ones, the decarbonization speed will speed up. Let me give you an example. Last year in Argentina, here in South America, we installed the first wind farm here in Buenos Aires, close to our steel plant in San Nicolás, where we enabled to replace up to 90% of our scope 2 emissions by making a huge capex or investment of $225 million. It's 100 megawatts capacity, 22 turbines. I mean, this is a project that was really business driven, not only decarbonizing our footprint, but also it makes a lot of sense to invest in this own capacity, renewable capacity, replacing fossil fuel-based energy matrix in Argentina. We expect this to happen in all the regions where we operate.
Yeah, and a good strategy also because you have a more predictable cost, because you know what the energy cost of your own generation is going to be, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Long-term view and strategy, it's what the Chin group of companies, not only Ternium, has in its DNA.
Yeah. You mentioned briefly, Jose, your Pesquería steel plant in Mexico. Tell us about it. What's unique? What's special?
In this new phase of Pesquería expansion project, we are delivering by the end of this year the most modern and efficient and sustainable state-of-the-art steelmaking capacity of 2.6 million tons per year for the mobility of the future. This is going to be based, again, in natural-based DRI and EAF, electric arc furnace, based on our technology arm or branch called Tenova. We are installing this technology that means that we're going to be saving sensitive heat from the furnace to heat up ferrous scrap coming into the ovens, saving energy, saving CO2. And in the DRI unit, we are going to be selectively capturing CO2 to deliver to the market these low carbon CO2 co-products by replacing fossil fuel-phase CO2. we are gaining the lowest carbon footprint ever in the region for our sophisticated markets, which is a more automotive industry in the region.
Congratulations. So look forward to hearing more about this. Last question also of technology before we come back to CeraVe. We touched on hydrogen. How significant could hydrogen be in terms of decarbonization? We hear about hydrogen to reduce the emission intensity. What's been your experience?
Oh, let me tell you that on hydrogen, we have a lot of experience and we are betting on that transition, but it's going to take a lot of time. For the time being, we already use hydrogen sourced by this natural gas or coal-based production. In essence, we crack the molecule and we obtain this hydrogen that would reduce the iron ore. This is again taking out the oxygen out of the iron, which is hard, in terms of energy. So we use embedded in the process the hydrogen as a reductant agent. We are betting on this hydrogen transition to, instead of a green route of production, we are betting on a turquoise route of production. Let me explain what's turquoise hydrogen production. It's based in pyrolyzing natural gas, the molecule of natural gas in the absence of oxygen. We're going to crack that with using a plasma provided again by Tenova with our technology branch of the Chin Group of Company, and obtaining not only a low carbon embedded CO2 hydrogen, it will be as low as the energy source of the plasma will be in the future, but also carbon solid or black carbon, very good as a co-product for our other industries. So we are building this pilot plant and in the same site as Pesquería steelmaking mentioned a few minutes ago. So we expect to prove this technology and to scale up a competitive hydrogen low carbon based for not only for us as a consumer or off-takers, but for third parties as well.
How long before the plant starts operation? You're already building it, is that correct?
We are starting the construction. Civil works are ongoing. It's 2 years horizon to see these results up and running at the site.
Perhaps sometime in the future, CeraVe, you can come and tell us how it is going, right?
Right. We are, in fact, doing it right now. We are provoking the conversation. We are sharing the knowledge. We are sharing the experience so far. And of course, we are asking for investors because this is a ventures company.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, this Tulum, as the name of the company was defined, it's a project that was seed on these technology ventures we launched a few years ago, again in the Chin Group of Companies. So we are happy to engage the conversation and join the challenge of this technology with third parties.
So I should tell our audience that be on the lookout for you and those that are interested. So I want to come back to CeraVe. And no, we don't go with what is trending. So we clearly will talk about AI, but we're going to talk about hard to abate, as you said earlier, including steel, which is such a large carbon footprint, isn't it? So my question to you is that what kind of conversations you're planning to have when you will be in Houston?
I'm very anxious to be at CeraVe to update our mood, I would say, of decarbonization strategy of heavy industries, to see the progress and the pushbacks, innovation in low carbon technology, understand, of course, the losers and the winners of this CBAM measure that Europeans leading, of course, in this environment, in this landscape, moving landscape, there will be major shifts in this strategy, on the pace at least, of decarbonizing, and also backing up our team, specific team of Tulum that will be sharing more details, insights about the project.
José Fonrouge, thank you so much for doing this podcast. You've given our audience a really good, short, quick lesson on steelmaking, some of the challenges, and most importantly, what you're doing in Ternium to address many of these challenges. Thanks again for joining us.
My pleasure, Atul. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us on the CeraVe podcast. To stay connected with the ideas driving change across energy and technology, subscribe, share, and rate this episode. It helps us get the word out. Let's continue having impactful conversations. I'm Atul Arya. Until the next time.
The CERAWeek podcast with Atul Arya is brought to you by CERAWeek, the world's premier energy conference. Be part of the conversations moving the world of energy forward. March 23rd through 27th, 2026 in Houston. Discover more at CERAWeek.com.